So now we are going to your lesson. I have given in the introduction that it is taken from the main plot, that is the novel The Prisoner of Senda. Now you have only the part where the coronation is duplicated by Rassendyll. So now let's come to the story. The Adventures of an Understudy. It's an adventurous novel and understudy. What is the meaning of understudy? Understudy means an actor who takes a particular role in a play if the usual actor is absent. In the movie and all, we say dummy or duplicate or whatever it is. So sometimes in the movies, when the original hero has to fight, usually they take someone else who resembles the hero and then conducts the fight. You must have been aware of that. So that is called an understudy, means an actor who takes a particular role if the usual actor is absent. So the adventures of an understudy, the person who has to act on behalf of someone, that one's adventure. That is the theme of this short part that you are going to have here. So let's come to the lesson. Please keep your textbook open. Rassendyll, he is the hero of this particular excerpt. Rassendyll is traveling from England to Ruritania. That is the place, that is the country where the coronation is to take place, to see the coronation of King Rudolph. I had told you what is coronation, crowning. So in that country called Ruritania, there is a crowning ceremony of whom? King Rudolph. Now, who is Rassendyll? Rudolph Rassendyll is 29 years old person who has no occupation. He is not in any way occupied and he has a striking resemblance to Elfberg's family, that is the ruling family. Now, a chance meeting in the woods brings Rassendyll and Rudolph face to face. Now, Rassendyll meets Rudolph face to face in a woods, in a forest, and they discover they look exactly alike and they understand that both of them look exactly the same. Even their hair is the same shade of brilliant red, the color of Rudolph's royal Elfberg's family. You should keep in mind the name of the king's family, the royal family, is called the Elfberg's family. So, they both are meeting and they see that there is a lot of similarity between their appearance. Even their hair shade is brilliant red. Now, King's family we understand. Now, how did this man called Rassendyll get this resemblance? Let's come to the point. It's not there mentioned here in your excerpt, but I am telling you on the basis of the novel. So, how did he get? So, it is that there was an old scandal in which this Rassendyll family was involved. Many years ago, more than 100 years before, what happened? A prince of the country, Ruritania, came and visited England. And what happened? He got involved with the wife of one of the Rassendyll men. Rassendyll may be another family name. So one prince came from Ruritania and he got involved with the family and a child was born with a red hair and a large nose, exactly like that of the Elfberg family. I hope you understood. It is about what happened 100 years before. So then what happens is that event, 5 to 6 descendants, even after many generations, that resemblance, looking the similarity continued. That is why Rassendyll has this resemblance. I hope you understood. I repeat, how King Rudolph and Rassendyll look same is that from the country Ruritania, one prince had gone to visit England and there he got involved with the Rassendyll family, a woman, and they had a child. That was maybe the great grandfather of Rassendyll. But then in so many generation this resemblance is continued. So this man looks alike. Now you got it? Okay. Now the next day Rudolph is turned unconscious and unable to attend his coronation. It's a mysterious adventurous story. So the next day the original king who is supposed to be crowned is found unconscious. Now they have announced such a great event to the country, so they cannot put it off. So the show must go on, otherwise what will happen? There is someone called Black Michael, the half brother and enemy, who is the Duke of Strelso. So these are the places in England. So that person wants to become king. He is called Black Michael. So he will take over the throne in case Rudolph doesn't accept the coronation. Now, for the sake of Ruritania, Rasindel must pretend to be Rudolph for the day and take part in the coronation. Now, how to save the situation? Now, for that day, king is absconding or kidnapped. Rudolph is kidnapped, the king. Maybe Black Michael has done that because he has an eye. He wants to become the king. It's already said that he is half brother. We do not know. Maybe these kings and queens, they have many wives and husbands. So it is born of somebody, but both parents are not same of both of them. So now to save the country from this man, for one day Rasindel has to pretend to be King Rudolph. The king's friends, Colonel Sapt and Fritz von Tallenheim, these are king's friends. So what happened? They promised to help. They said they will help the situation and help the country from Michael taking upon. But will Rasindel manage to deceive Black Michael and Princess Flavia, the woman whom Rudolph is engaged to marry? So will Rasindel will cheat, or will he be able to succeed from their eyes? So let's find out. So that is what this story is going to speak about. So now we begin the adventure story. You should keep in mind the setting and who is duplicating whom. Now just to bring to your mind, to recapitulate, King Rudolph is supposed to take over the crown of Ruritania, but he is found missing. He is unable to attend. Now, his half brother Michael wants to take it over. He is called Black Michael. Now, two of the colonels, king's friends, want to save the country from this situation. So they found out a man called Rasindel, who has only the resemblance with the king's family, but he is nobody. He was supposed to come and attend to see the program, but then they are requesting him that day you take up the kingship and afterwards you can hand over to the original king. So this is the setting, okay? Now we come to the game. The game had begun. The cool morning air streaming in through the window of the train cleared my head. So this story is from Rasindel's viewpoint. It is as if Rasindel is speaking. He is traveling in the train and the cool morning air is streaming through the window to his head, and I was able to take in all Sapt said to me. These two colonels, Sapt and Fritz one. So Sapt has told everything. See, Rasindel has no idea what his kingdom is. Okay? He is not a king's man. He doesn't know anything. So these two colonels have to teach him what is what. How is the kingdom, how he has to behave, everything. So all what he was explaining, Rasindel was able to take up. He was wonderful. He began at once to instruct me in the history of my past life, of my family, of my tastes, pursuits, weakness, friends, companions, and servants. Please underline those things. See, he began at once to instruct me in the history of my past life. What is this? He is instructing Rasendal because Rasendal is going to act as King Rudolph. So he has no idea what is King Rudolph is all about. So he has to learn. Suppose you are playing a prank. You have to act as one of your friend. So for that, you need to know what is the person is like, what is his or family, what is her taste, what is her color, what is her strength, weakness, etc. Same way, now these colonels are telling him how the king is all about, friends, companions, and servants. So the whole story they are teaching him. He told me the etiquette. Etiquette means the manners, the way you behave, and the rules that has to be in a court. The king has to behave in a particular manner. He cannot behave anyhow. So he told me the etiquette of the Ruritanian court and promised to be constantly at my elbow to point out everybody whom I ought to know. So Colonel said, nothing to worry. I will be with you next to your hand just to show who is who. Because this man doesn't know anything. He is dummy. So he has to act. Whereas the people there have no idea that he is a dummy and they believe that he is the real king. At 9:30, looking out of the window, I saw the towers of a great city. So 9:30, that is 9:30, they are reaching, the train is reaching the city. And he saw a huge great city. Your capital, my liege. Liege means it's a respectful manner in which addressing the Lord. So it's like a saying, my Lord. Your capital. So it's your capital. Grinned old Sapt with a wave of his hand. So he grinned. He just told. Leaning forward, he laid his finger on my pulse. A little too quick. So now it's very dangerous game, adventurous game that they are going to play. Because this man has nothing to do with the king. But he is going to act that day as a king. And he going to be crowned. So he has naturally heartbeat very high. So that's why they are checking the pulse. And Sapt said, it's bit high. Your heartbeat is too hard, in a grumbling tone. Like a complaining. Complaining means, see, he is also getting nervous because if the man makes a mistake, whole game will be lost. I am not made of stone, I exclaimed. He said, naturally, because, see, catching me nobody as I am, bringing me and telling me to take up the position on that day is not a joke. So I am not a stone. I have my emotions, I have my fears. You will do, said he with a nod. He just shook his head and said, you will do. And then he paused and looked at us and said quietly, God sent we may be alive tonight. Just praying that everything go on well and we may not be killed. Amen, said Fritz. You know what's the meaning of Amen? When somebody says something, you agree to it and you say Amen. They are praying that their plot may not be spoiled. The train stopped. Fritz and Sapt leaped out and held the door for me. See, they have to treat him like a king. You might have been seen when the officials come, the guards open and give the door. So same way, they just walked out onto the platform and opened the door of the train for him to get out. I choked down a lump that rose in my throat. I choked down. You should keep in mind the emotion of this person. He feels choked. Suppose when you are so scared or when you want to cry, you feel that something is so heavy, especially you feel heaviness in the chest and then onto the throat. So the same feeling he had, a lump, a kind of choking, something is choking his throat because of the fear. Then I settled my helmet firmly on my head and breathed a short prayer to God. Helmet. When we say helmet, don't misunderstand with the helmet of the bike fellows. This is, you might have been seen, King's Knight, KNIGHT, the knights, and the soldiers wearing the helmet. It is that helmet. So he put it firmly and he breathed a short prayer to God. God save me. The last thing I did was to feel if my revolver was handy. He had a revolver, a small gun for the protection. He checked it whether it was handy. And my sword loose in the scabbard. So the sword is put it on a scabbard, means cover. So see, he is already dressed up in the king's attire, in the uniform. So he is checking whether everything is all right. Then I stepped onto the platform of the station at Strelso. So he is got down at that particular place, the station. The bells throughout the city broke out into a joyful peal. So as soon as he got out, he stepped out, the news went that the king is in a city. So the whole bell was ringing. You can imagine such a beautiful show because the whole country is waiting for the crowning of the king. The message went that the king has come. For example, for our annual function or something, when the chief guest comes, immediately the whole band will begin. Band is nothing but imagine whole country, the bell ringing. How beautiful it will be. The sound of a military band and of men cheering struck my ear. The military playing the band and such a gorgeous, such a grand welcome. King Rudolph V was in his good city of Strelso, and they shouted outside, God save the king. So they said, King Rudolph V, he has come to our city. And always when they meet the king, they say this prayer, long live the king or God save the king. Now, as he got out, the old sap's mouth wrinkled into a smile. He just smiled and he prayed. People prayed, God save the king, and he prayed, God save them both, the king and the duplicate. He whispered, courage, lad. My boy, you take courage, he said to Rasandal, and he held his arm tight. A group of officers stood awaiting me. At their head was a tall, old man covered with medals and in a military uniform. So each band of the military, they were all waiting. And there was the Marshal Strackens. It's like a air marshal. The leader of the group is called Marshal. Whispered sapped, and I knew that I was in the presence of the most famous veteran of the Ruritanian army. A veteran means someone who has a long experience in the army and in a very high position. That's why I said in India we also call air marshal. So it's the highest position. So this man is in the presence of the highest official. The marshal saluted me in a few loyal words. You have to recollect, you have to connect again with when we have a chief guest arriving, the band leader must be calling out certain words. Or when we have the program flag hoisting, you might have been heard the school captain calling out. So like that, the first salute they saluted. I accepted his greeting very suavely. Suavely means in a way that confident and elegant. See, always keep at the back of your mind that he is an acting king, not the real king. So he accepted, but it was not sincerely because he is not the real king, and received the compliments of a large number of distinguished guests. No one revealed the least suspicion. Nobody could make out there was something fishy or something going on which is not real. So I felt my nerve returning. So he could feel that he was more confident because nobody had any doubt that he is not the real king. And the troubled beating of my heart subsiding. So the heartbeat was subsiding. He was settling down. The fear was going away. Presently, I mounted my horse. Mounted means he gathered his horse and started to ride through the streets with the marshal on my right and Sapt on my left. So the custom is that the king has to take a round around the town. Marshal on his one side and the Sapt, the colonel on the other side. He was taking a ride in the street, and on the both side of the street people will be standing with flowers to cheer the newly going to be crowned king. Students, for today we stop here. The remaining part will be dealt tomorrow. Until then, get familiar with the new words and their meanings that are there in your textbook along with what I have given you all. Also, read the lesson once or twice, and if you have any doubt, please feel free to ask me. Thank you.